Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Nostalgia Show. This week, I got a little something special all set up and nice and ready for you. I had a conversation. I was about to say an interview. Just as I had a catch-up kind of conversation with a really good friend of mine. His name's Robert Resitar. And what I wanted to do here before we kind of just dove right into the interview or the conversation, I wanted to give you a better introduction of Robert than I gave in the actual show. It's been a little while since I've been doing the interviews and stuff, and so maybe I was a little bit rusty. I love and respect that man so much that, I wanted to make sure that I gave him his proper due. And I know I didn't really do that in the show, so that's why I'm doing this here. And also, the interview or the conversation ended up being about 30 minutes. So we're gonna talk a little bit beforehand. We're gonna go right into the interview really after I introduce Robert the right way, and then at the end I'm gonna give you some of my insights on the conversation. There was one specific point that was really salient that I think was worth a little bit more of a conversation, at least a chance for me to dive into it to discuss a bit further into it. I thought it was really, really powerful. So, without further ado, let me get to the introducing of the man. So, who is Robert? Why am I having him on the show? So, typically in the past, what I've done with people is I've brought on people who really inspired me in some way, shape, or form. So, the way that I used to describe this is I would say I interview entrepreneurs and business owners and leaders so that I can identify their blueprints to success, right? I wanted to figure out their backstory so that I could distill that into something that was both entertaining and educational for you guys. So that if you were looking to become a leader within your organization, you could listen to interviews I had with people like Rudy Dominguez, who's been a senior leader in the military for a really long time, and he went through really good and hard times, early on, and kind of stumbled and figured out kind of the best ways to lead and influence and inspire people. And then I interview people like Carrie Pollack, who's an entertainer, a magician, a comedian, all wrapped into one, who owns his own building and that has a kitchen and restaurant and a bar in it too, that it fills up freaking audiences like every single night of the week. It's insane. Absolutely beautiful joint out in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So when I was really thinking about it, and I was thinking about why do I still bring people onto the show, and that's not really the direction. I'm not in the business anymore of trying to convince people to do one thing or another, that you need to ditch your job and go passionately pursue your dreams, and the only way to do that is by ditching your job and burning the boats, which is, why the name of the show changed. But it's really, I bring people on now who I think do incredible things and that inspire me, right? People that I know that they've touched my life in a meaningful way, whether they know it or not, and they've truly made me better, if even in a small way. So Robert has done this for me. Robert Resitar has done this for me for years. Just been a great, outstanding friend. Just his friendship alone has been amazing. But what he does in his life is something really special. And we grew up in the military together, and we spent a lot of time in working side by side with each other, and kind of riding some bumps and some turbulence that you do in any unit, over a given period of time. And that's kind of how we got to know each other. And then our relationship, it continued to grow, and we went from being co-workers and colleagues to being teammates and team members to being friends, where, he would come over and spend time with the family and stuff. And I got to know his kids, and they're oh my god, they're incredible. His daughter and his son are amazing human beings that I've been able to spend a fair amount of time with when they were younger. And he's got a whole new crew of kids, and they're all out in Hawaii now and just doing amazing things. Their family is absolutely incredible and just a bright, shining example of what is possible in this world, even still to this day. And so Robert and I's relationship continued to grow and develop, and to the point when it was really solidified when he asked me to be his best man, and that was huge. That was one. It was an incredible time, but it was an amazing opportunity. It was the first time that somebody outside of like my core home Nebraska group of friends had asked me and honored me with such a responsibility, and I took it seriously as such, and it went really well. We went down to St. Augustine, Florida, and had an absolutely incredible time. It was just the venue was gorgeous, one of the biggest cathedrals I've ever been in, and the whole layout of the city and everything around it was just it was a wonderful, amazing time with great people. All the friends that were there were super supportive, and it was just it was incredible. It was something that I'll never forget. And so even as our lives separated physically, we've always stayed connected and attached, and just kind of checking in on each other, doing calls every now and then. And one of the things that I saw him doing, which really it caught my eye, but it didn't surprise me because I knew Robert. He always had this non-military bent in him. He always had this, because he came in as an adult, not straight out of high school. He joined the military as a matured man. He had much more of a ensconced personality, if you will, and a lot of that was based on what was embodied by a sense of entrepreneurism. I know I totally just butchered that word, but he just had this spirit about him that was always like seeking for something better and how to create something that was better. His eyes were always on the horizon. And so when I saw him develop his own company, I was super excited to learn all about it. And I saw that they had developed a company, and it was called It's a Clothing, right? And the whole baseline, the kind of tagline that you can go with, it's a American thing, it's a workout thing, it's a fighting thing, because they're really backing a lot of MMA and UFC fighters, and especially Robert gets into that, where they talk about how they've got a backings of several female fighters that are out there doing amazing things, and it's so Robert. Right, and that is why I wanted to have him on the show, was to kind of go through a little bit of our history together, but really to give you the essence of who he is, how that happened, and some of the kind of the struggles and trip ups along the way, along with like kind of helpful hints and tips that he can give to other people that are looking to really throw down in their side hustle, or even in your hobby. Like there's a lot of really great lessons that Robert kind of talks about. And I will let him get to it, and we'll just roll right into the interview now. So thank you guys. I appreciate you for coming. And here is Robert Resitar. Hey, welcome back everyone to another episode here on the Matt LaStalia Show. This is actually, this gotta be the first interview of 2021, and I wouldn't even categorize this as an interview. This is more of a catch up with a friend that I think is actually really beneficial, and there's a lot of value kind of in his story and kind of where he came from, how he got to what he's doing now, and what he's doing now. And so we're gonna try to jam pack quite a bit into a short period of time, but if need be, I'm gonna try to draw him back in for a second one, but we'll get through what we can get through today. I think what I want to start out with is just so Robert is a good friend. I've known him for, oh gosh, man, what is it? 10 years or so at this point. And we met in one of the
an interesting component of the Army in air defense. We were both grunt knuckle dragging, missile towing, self-aggrandized badasses. And so, what I actually, it was interesting because when I first met Robert, I remember thinking, I was like, this dude is not like, he's not like the other people that are here. Like he's operating on a different level. And I was so indoctrinated to what the Army was, that I didn't really know how to accept people that didn't really fit inside the Army box. And Robert never really did. And I think your process of going through selection probably had something to do with that. But but I remember there was one time, and that I immediately picked up on his entrepreneurial spirit. And it was like, you had like a bunch of phones that you were like selling to people around in the unit and stuff. And I was like, dude, who is this guy? And what is his deal? And over time, like, we ended up developing a really, really strong friendship that has lasted through both of us having significant transitions in our life, through marriages, divorces, remarriages, transitioning out of the Army back into the Army. And so, Robert, what I'm curious as to, like, your, when you look back at your time in the Army in the beginning and you reflect on kind of what you're doing now. I guess we'll start there. Let's do that. What are you into right now? And let's kind of backtrack, and we'll start back at the beginning.
Hey, Matt. I right now, as a civilian, I got my hands in a couple different things, but my job that pays the bills, the thing I do that pays the bills, is I'm a paralegal, and I'm working for the Office of Soldiers Council. And what we do is represent service members who are going through the med board process. So I know you went through the med board process. You didn't come through our office, but we had some conversations about your specific case. And that's what I do on a daily basis. We see clients every day, service members who are getting put out of the Army due to a physical or mental condition. And that's kind of my bill payer.
Oh yeah, and that's significant. I know that that transitionary process for soldiers is uh, extremely stressful because there's so much unknown. There's so much variability there that, like, it's really, really hard. And I know that what you did, even not even being in my official realm, but just kind of having my back in that process, like, the care that you took and the knowledge that you had was extraordinary. So that being like, yeah, that's the thing that pays the bills, but like mentally, it seems like it's kind of like the side hustle, right?
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. Because, even my friends that are in the military now that are getting out, because I deal so much with the VA, they're hitting me up. They're talking to me saying, hey, what about this? Can I get rated for this? Can I get rated for that? So in that aspect, absolutely kind of a side hustle to help my friends out, help my friends and family out, to make sure that they're taken care of. Because at the end of the day, we know what the Army does to us mentally and physically. So I'm always happy to try to help one of my fellow friends get some back. So that's that. And then I also have my side hustle. My true side hustle is a small clothing line. It's a clothing, www.itsaclothing.com. It's a clothing. We sponsor a couple female MMA fighters. We have some fight gear and just kind of some workout gear, yoga pants, things like that. And that's just kind of something I picked up. Me and my partner, we were having a couple drinks one night. I think every good business plan starts with some drinks. And
all on the back of a napkin, baby.
yeah, and he was always saying, like, in an Italian accent, oh, it's a good night. It's a this, it's a that. And we're like, man, that would be kind of cool on a shirt or something. And so we just kind of brainstormed and put some stuff together. And and we've been going ever since.
Hell yeah,
Getting a
man.
little bigger.
That's like
And
that goes back to that entrepreneurial spirit. Like you've always had it. You're always you have that energy that always existed kind of outside of the box. There wasn't really ever a framework that you just nestled yourself into because there's always something greater. There's always something innovative that you wanted to be a part of. And I think that uh the clothing line was an interesting thing. And so when it came to Itza and you guys were kind of spitballing the name around, and I love the usage of it. Like it's genius to have that as a branding, like it's a clothing and be able to have it's a lifestyle, like kind of being the flexibility that comes with it is really, really cool. But like, so how did it go from the conversation at the bar about it's turning into a company going clothing? Was it just because it was like easier to brand? And how did that end up branching to MMA?
well, yeah, we started with shirts, and at at the specific time when we started it, we wanted to target a specific audience. Um, and I was doing a lot of UFC boxing training at the gym type stuff. My business partner, he was kind of working out, but he was more of a skater, so he liked the original, the It's a Skull. And I'm like, well, that can translate to boxing and MMA as well. You know, us fighters, we like that skull.
And that's because of your background, right?
Right. So, you know, I've wrestled my whole life, wrestled a little bit for the Army, went to the Olympic trials, things like that. It was just an easy transition. And now that we're going a little bit farther into it, I'm putting a little bit more time into it now. Got my wife on board to even go into like it's a lifestyle clothing brand, with yoga pants, more so like women's workout apparel. Because like my wife said, most of the women are the ones who are buying the stuff.
Yeah, no, it's
Um,
true. And so you sent us, Yasmin and I, some of your clothing, some of the workout stuff, and I know that when Yasmin put the pants on, she loved them. Like they're some of her go-to workout pants now. Like just the quality that came with it. So it's not like you're putting a catchy slogan on the side of some crap clothes, you know, and throwing them out the door. Like they're actually good quality.
yeah, that was important, especially again to my wife. That hey, we're gonna put out a good quality product, because if I wear yoga pants, like they've got to be comfortable. Like that's what yoga pants are, right? They're comfortable. I can wear them to the house. I can wear them to the gym. I can wear them anywhere.
Yeah, you
Um,
see them like that's like, hey, I need to run out to the store and grab some groceries. You know what I mean?
right,
They're like the everyday pants now.
right. So yeah, we're about putting out a good product, and we're getting good products, and we're getting good pricing. Negotiating really good pricing, and we're really trying to make sure that we pass that good pricing along to our clients and our customers. We don't have a big markup because we don't want to be greedy, you know.
I guess
And
that's a really cool point, and it's an interesting component. I'm curious, and you and I have never really talked about this in any sense of depth before, but I'm curious about kind of what drives you. Because when I think about this audience and kind of what we do here is we talk a lot about, we create a lot of blueprints. And that's the way that I did it before when I was interviewing a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs like yourself, is that I would kind of bring them on and go through their journey and figure out kind of where they started, how they went through some of their stumbling blocks and everything like that, and how do they get to where they're at now. But I'm more curious. I've been really, really, really focused on purpose and on why, and like what is the driving motivation behind the decisions that people are making. And so when you're trying, like you've just said that, you know, this has existed for a while. I've seen Itza around for quite some time now, but you've really decided to throw down on it and invest heavily in time, money, energy, and everything now. What's the driving force behind you? Is it, are you trying to I don't even want to throw ideas out there. Like, I'll just throw it to you.
Well,
Like, what?
it's an easy answer for me. It's legacy, right? It's legacy. What am I leaving as a legacy for my name, for my family, for when people think about It's a Clothing, when they think about Robert Recitar, when they think about the Recitar name, what do they think of, right? I want to leave a good legacy. I don't want to be the guy that they're like, oh yeah, that was that guy. He put together this product. He put it out there. He overcharged for it. No, man, that's not what I'm about. That's not who I am. I'm about leaving a good legacy, and it's crazy when you start putting things together, right? So the 5 love languages, right? Actually play into my everyday life, not just with my relationship with my wife, but with everything I do. Because my number one love language is words of affirmation. Well, that translates into the business world too, right? I want to put a good product out there so my customers are happy. So they'll in return be like, hey man, this guy is A-OK. He's top notch. I appreciate what he does. Um, so with having that as a love language, it's also a defining language of who I am as a person to my core.
That's
Um,
huge. That's such a significant connection that I think that even people that reach echelons of success that we don't understand, that they don't necessarily grasp, and that's when you see these falls from the high tiers of what some would consider success, monetary success, is that
right.
there's not that connection between like how to fill that love tank, right? And but how to develop that relationship with your business. More and more every day when I'm redefining my purpose or I'm refining my purpose, it's all about relationships. Like our reason for existing is our inter is the nature of our interconnectedness with other humans, right? Like
No,
that's this is really hard to like. It's really hard to pull a purpose for any person that doesn't have to do with other people, right? And so
right.
it's all relationships, and so it's your relationships with those people and how you devise your business for those that are motivated to launch and start their own businesses. It's so important to understand yourself to that level and to not corner that off to just like, okay, now I understand myself in my marriage or in my relationship, or with my children. Like all of those things are crucial and it's a cornerstone of your life. But being able to make that is beautiful, man. I love it. I love the way that you incorporate that.
Yeah. Well, I just think, and like you said, you've kind of seen it's around for a long time, and we've been kind of just flumbling and keeping our head above water for a long time. And it wasn't until recently, right? I made this connection, and I'm like, okay, I've made the connection. I want to be successful. I want people to like our product. Um, so let's do it the right way. And so I stepped back. I took a bunch of stuff off my plate, because I'm always one to put too much stuff on my plate and get overwhelmed. Um, so I took a lot of stuff off my plate, and I'm focusing on It's a Clothing, my 9 to 5, my marriage, my kids, and my Mustang. Not necessarily in
Dude,
that order.
Robert has the most beautiful Mustang that it oh my gosh, it is. What year is it?
It's a 1968 Mustang
Oh,
convertible.
he's
I'm doing a
gorgeous.
full restoration on it on the side, so it's a work in progress. Um,
And I don't know if we said it, and I don't know if people are picking it up from the background, but you're not in the continental United States here with us.
no, so if you're watching, I am not in the continental United States. I currently reside on the island of Oahu, with my wife and my 3 youngest children, ages 4, 2, and 1. 4, 2.5, and 1.5. Um, I also have a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old in Colorado, one in college, one with my first wife. But yeah, we're out here in Hawaii, and Putting that Mustang together out here is not easy because I have to get a lot of the stuff shipped in from the mainland.
That
So
was
I drove.
exactly my thought. And I was like, dude, how did you get this car and all the parts on that? That's just, it's cool. It's another one of those things that I appreciate about you that goes to your, it's like the level of detail. Like when you choose to go in on something, you're really going in. I'm not gonna do this thing half-heartedly or half-assed. I'm going, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it right. And so
Right.
seeing that being true over time and in multiple different aspects of your life, I think that speaks volumes to your character. It's actually, do you remember Josh Gill?
I do remember Josh Gill. He was your
So
neighbor
he
for a
said
while.
something. He said something that a lot of service members ended up saying, or a lot of people end up saying in jobs that I think is, I was gonna say toxic, but that's not right. It's just not beneficial. It's not helpful. It's that people are, when they're performing poorly, they're like, I don't care about this job. Just wait until you see me do the thing that I'm really passionate about doing. And get it. Like I support you in doing well over there, but I my confidence in the consistency, I have more confidence in your consistency to act the way that you're acting now than to pull a 90-degree turn when you go somewhere else. Now I know it's possible. I know, like, when we get our passions taken away from us, or we're operating in a place that doesn't really tap into our purpose and our why, it's easy to get kind of distraught and not perform at your highest level. But there's a certain part that you're you, and you carry your you with you wherever you go.
Right. Absolutely. It's that small saying, right? If you can't do the little things, why do I expect you to do the big things?
Yeah, why would I
You know,
ever have the confidence and faith in you to do anything serious if you're not gonna, if you're not gonna put
right.
and
When
handle the
when
details.
when the times get tough, if your response is going to be, oh, just wait till I get into a good environment, or wait till I get into the perfect environment for me, then wait and see what I do. That's not somebody that I'm going to have confidence in, nor a lot of times somebody I want to work with, um, personally or professionally, to be point frank. So yeah,
Yeah.
I try to. I'm not the best with attention to detail, but I try to do those small things the right way. So when it is time to do the big things, people have confidence in me that I can do them.
Absolutely. No. It's an important aspect, and like I said, it's something that I've seen in you since day one. And so I think that's one of the things that drew us together, was that when we performed, even in a job as that is not shunned, but it was really not needed anymore. We were in an outdated mission in the army, and
Oh
even
yeah,
with us being in this part that it wasn't used for the war that we were in, and so we didn't get funding, we didn't get focused. There wasn't a reason to. If I'm the army and I'm making financial decisions, I'm not funding that either. But even with that, there were people that wanted to perform at their top level because, like, we're there and that's our mission, right? And it's more about who I am and who you are and who we were as a band of brothers than it was about the mission and the broader scope of the army. And I thought it was really cool, to be able to do that. And then we were both able to claw our way out from
yeah,
that.
right, yeah. Claw our way out. I Yeah, I'm no longer a 14 Sierra, although I'm always a 14 Sierra at heart because it
Yep.
says it on my CRB. Um, as a secondary MOS now. So yeah, man, I just look at it, that time that we were in, uh 3-4, as just embracing the suck together, right? Making each other better, not for the army, not for our first line leaders, not for our first sergeant, but for us as people, right? Like, I'm a little older than most of the people were in the unit. I had some life experience, and I think that helped build some of the relationships that I have still is a lot of people that we know in the Army. I think you to a certain extent, but not as much. The Army is all they know, right? They come in at the age of 18, 19 years old, out of their mom and dad's house, and it becomes a lifestyle, and that's the only lifestyle they know. And to be able to have some life experience, to see some other stuff, to kind of share some knowledge of like, hey man, this is not the only thing out there.
Yeah, no, I was blessed. I came in still like real young, but thankfully not straight out of high. I came in when I was 21, turning 22, and I had worked. I left, went to college, college in Arizona. Learned to work on cars. Worked in the automotive industry, whether repairs or service management for 3, 4, 5 years, and then I ended up joining after that. But no, I was actually just writing about this. It's really interesting because there's something that happens like people enter the Army for a multitude of reasons, right? Some people joined. We knew a lot of people that joined after 9/11 that like
right.
they were kind of quick risers. I think of, if you remember, Staff Sergeant Tucker at the time. He was a real smart dude, but like real interesting because he was homeschooled. And so he had a real interesting kind of personality, but real smart dude. But joined specifically out of the desire to serve country because of 9/11 and to go avenge our brothers and sisters. Right.
Right.
And other people joined for school money, and other people joined, whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter, because once you join and they break you down in basic, and you become reindoctrinated into the brotherhood, then we're all kind of on the same page. But there's this devastating thing that seems to happen that you never did, and from a position of life seniority, you very much did the opposite of this, and it helped mentor me as I became a leader to do this better with soldiers and to make sure I was doing it right. And it was a lot of leaders who joined the Army, just like you said, at 18, 19 years old, 17 sometimes, come in, get promoted, and this is their life. This is their structure. When other people come up and they're going through the Army and they're serving, they're doing their time, but they're not motivated to progress. They're motivated to do their time, so to speak, do the service, do their job, and get out. There's a clash there, and it turns into this really toxic kind of situation where the leader will dissuade the person from making the decision for themselves. They'll push them away, say, you don't know what it's like, you're gonna fall flat on your face, I can't wait to see you crawling back to the Army in 6 months after you leave, and we're not gonna take you back, as if they had any say in that regardless. But you never did that. You were extremely supportive. Like, I remember conversations with guys, and they were talking about stuff that they were interested in, and just the openness of the conversations that would happen. I remember watching it being like, wow, that's another way to look at it, because I was ready to be indoctrinated. I didn't want to stay in, and I ended up getting indoctrinated. Like, I'm going for career.
Right. I just think having that outside experience, I was going to try to help. If somebody wanted to get out of the Army, cool. But I wanted to hear what's your plan when you get out, right?
Yes.
What are you going to do when you get out? Because if you don't have a plan, maybe you shouldn't get out at this moment. I get it. Like, you want to get out, but hey, maybe you should put it on the back burner until you figure out what you're going to do when you get out.
I think that you said this, and I think that I ended up modeling this. I don't remember, but I remember I'm pretty sure I stole this from somebody, and it might have been you. But I remember hearing this in a conversation that happened, and I stole it, and I use it in every single conversation that I used afterwards in that context, was that there were soldiers that you would ask them, you'd have that conversation like, oh, I'm going to get out, forget the Army. Everyone has those days, weeks, or months of time where you're like, I can't stand the Army. I want to get out.
Right.
And so as a good leader, you start asking questions and figuring out what's going on. You say, okay, cool. Like, what would you like to do? And they're like, oh, I'm going to go to school. And I remember changing the focus of that conversation to be like, no. That's not what I asked. Like, I didn't ask if you were going to be a student. what do you want to do? Like, what do you want your life to be? Like, school and learning is a means. It's not an end. So like, yeah, you have the GI Bill, yeah, you have the money, use it, but like, what for? Business management? Okay, but like, I want to get a business management degree. Okay, that's an end, but it's not an appropriate one, right? Like, do you want to
Right.
go work on Wall Street? Like, that's cool. Let's try to find out how to help you get there. But like, people wouldn't have those formulated, and watching you have those conversations and being able to model them myself, that it really helped create a better environment, a better pathway for people. I'm cognizant of time, and I wanted to get your perspective, just kind of on stepping back slightly from the specific military part, but anybody that's in a position of transition, or that's considering a big transition, considering even something like you just did, were like, what, I've really wanted to get into photography, and I want to do it, but like, I'm not really like that good. I don't really know that much about photography. It's just always been something I'm interested in. Like, what would your advice be, having gone through and helped coach and counsel people through transition after transition? What kind of advice would you give?
Well, I think my biggest piece of advice would be to have a game plan and write your game plan down on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, something, right? So you can have that visually and look at it every day. And my second and probably most important piece of advice is, if you have an aspiration to change your trajectory of your career, or careers altogether, if you're going to jump into photography, that's all good and dandy, but you can't quit your 9 to 5 to do it. You have to continue to pay your bills and continue to do stuff, right? It's got to start part-time in most cases. You have to start, especially if you don't have a lot of knowledge in that area. Okay, I'm going to keep my 9 to 5. I'm going to take some photography classes. I'm going to do some stuff on the side. I'm going
That's
to do some
huge.
free shoots. I'm going to give people free product until it can take off, until I can transition 100% full time, right? Because you can't just quit a 9 to 5 and go be a photographer and not make any money,
You're not
or
going to pay
make
your bills on
a
hopes and
fraction,
dreams.
right? So yeah, like, you have to have a goal and you have to have a plan, and it's got to be on paper so you can look at it every day to remind yourself, this is my goal. This is what I get up for. All right,
Oh yeah, man.
I got to go to my 9 to 5 to work to achieve my goal. So
Yeah, and then it just turns into, like, that's awesome. I love it, man. I think that's great advice. I think that people taking advantage of that 5 to 9 period in the morning, and taking advantage of that 10 to 9 to midnight time at night. Like, if you want to kick something off, like, you can sleep after you make your transition, right? You get
that's right.
yourself a solid 5, and you get up and you hustle. Like, you develop that new purpose, you develop that why. And I love what you said about taking classes. I think finding a mentor is huge. And so finding people that are doing, because I guarantee you're not creating something new. You're not doing something
Right.
that nobody's ever done before. And even if you are, it's going to be a variation of something that somebody's already done. So find that variation that already exists where it's successful. Model it. That's what I
Actually,
did.
no,
That's what I did with you. I took your perspective as a man, and I applied it to my model of leadership, right? And that changed soldiers' lives.
see, you're hitting my my love language. I like that. I appreciate that. Um, you very quickly glossed over something that I want to touch back on before we kind of end everything. And it's what you said, that 5 to 9, or that 9 to midnight, or midnight to 3, 10 to 2 in the evening, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night to 2 o'clock in the morning. That is when I do all my ITSA stuff, for like the majority, right? When I'm researching product, when I'm reaching out to people, when I'm sending emails, when I'm trying to get product, because it ain't making me $1 million yet. It ain't supplementing my income that I make in my 9 to 5 yet. So I got a 9 to 5. I got a wife I got kids. I got to take care of that. And then I put in the work for my passion or my product that I want to get out there.
I
And
heard.
so you gloss on that, but I think that's a very important aspect.
Yeah, I think that what you're doing, I read it in a book. I don't know if you read it. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. He gives an analogy
No.
that is about an ice cube melting, right? And so he says, basically like 32 degrees is freezing, right? And so if you're in a room and it's freezing, it's 28 degrees, and you're in there and you're doing work, like you equate this to doing work. Every day you're putting in work. Every day you're putting in work, and you're changing it a degree. It's 29 degrees. Cool. Nothing's changed. Cool. Now you're doing in work. You're putting in work. You're putting in work. All right, cool. It's 30 degrees. Cool. It's 31 degrees. Cool. It's 32 degrees. No change. No visible change from the outside. And then you hit 33 degrees. The ice starts to sweat. You hit 34 degrees and things start to melt, and it's that incremental increase. It's that constant going at it and realizing that stuff doesn't change overnight, and change isn't reflected through pure action. It's you don't get fit by going to the gym for 9 hours in a day. You go to the gym,
Right.
you get fit by going to the gym 20 minutes every day.
Right. No, absolutely. That old adage, inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard. It's true.
That dude, I haven't
So-
heard that in forever. I'm like, I'm gonna write that down on the whiteboard here in a second. That's beautiful. Robert, thank you. There's so much more that we can get into, and there's so much more I want to talk to you about, but I know we gotta cut it. I just thank you so much for your time. And
No,
one more time, just if people want to follow Itza and what's going on, or people want to be able to get to see the kind of products that are there and what's available, how do they get a hold of you?
so the website is itsaclothing.com, ITSSA. We're on Instagram. It's ITSSA with an underscore clothing. And we're on Facebook. It's a clothing company. So
And we'll get the
check
links,
us out.
I'll get the links from you. I'll throw them all in the descriptions for everyone, so that way it's easy and
Okay.
clickable, and we'll get this out there.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate it. We can do this anytime, Matt. I love
Yeah, man.
just talking and hanging out and
Yeah, man.
reminiscing a little bit, but
Yes.
also putting out there something that hopefully people can take and grasp and use in their everyday life.
Yeah, man. It's something that even when we were just bullshitting around the table and drinking beers, I felt like there was value. You know what I mean? I
Right,
felt
absolutely.
and so that's why I was excited to have you on. And again, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, Matt. Thanks. Have a good one.
You too, brother.
All right, what a cool interview, right? Like, I don't know. There's a special connection there with Robert, and what he does is truly incredible. And I thought that you guys would get some benefit out of it, and I definitely wanted to let you know about him and his story and about the company too, because they make really quality athletic wear, even for people that aren't into fighting necessarily, but like we had talked about, their pants, their yoga pants and stuff are really, really good. Yasmin's got a couple now, and I have his workout shirts. I was rocking one today when I went out for a run, and it's they're great. So the one thing that I really wanted to touch on, and I needed to pull it up to make sure, because I've read the book many moons ago, and I remember it's the 5 love languages, right? And it's the thing that was really powerful to me in this conversation was Robert's acknowledgement of his primary love language and how that plays a role in his business, and how he acknowledges that role in his business and how he uses it and leverages that in the success of the business. Right? I think that's incredible. It's so smart. It's so simple. It's really embodying you. It's bringing the real you into the business, right? And it's showing a sense of vulnerability and honesty and straightforwardness, and to allow a real connection with the people that he works with. And so some of you might be familiar with this already, and some of you might not be. So I wanted to dive into it real quick, and this is I just pulled up a chart here. This is actually a chart that says how to speak your spouse's love language. We're not going to dive into all of that today, but we can later at another time. Okay, the love languages are words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, and acts of service, right? And so Robert had talked about one of his primaries being words of affirmation. And so he found a way to work that in and use that as a mechanism, as a tool, as a motivating system factor contributor of the work, right? Like it is important for him and for his self-esteem and for who he is as a man to know that he is providing value, right? And so in order for him to receive that, he's got to provide value. But here's a really interesting thing when it comes to words of affirmation and wanting to work this into your business, and how it's very, very powerful. Not to get too deep down the business trenches, but we're going to get a little bit into it. It's word of mouth is the single most important means of spreading a message now. And now more than ever. Now in a world where we're getting blasted by ads left, right, front, and back, Monday through Sunday. Like it is, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or you're watching TV or shoot, even now I just saw, it was really interesting. I saw that they've started doing on Prime, I think it was, they started allowing more movies to be able to be watched for free with advertisements. So movies that would previously you'd have to rent, now you can watch them for free. Now this isn't all of them. We've gone in there and checked, and there are ones that you absolutely still have to rent if you want to watch them. But there are movies in there. I forget which one it was. I think it was a Karate Kid movie. That was one of them. We were on a Karate Kid bender, man. Like we watched all of them. I didn't even know that there were 3 of the originals. I knew that there were 2, and I knew there was one with a girl, the next Karate Kid. I didn't realize there was a 3rd one. Oh my gosh. And now, while we're watching Cobra Kai, sorry, yeah, tangent. But it's very real. It's advertising is everywhere, right? And so we're always getting blasted. We always have these inputs of buy us, buy this is great. Check out, and some of the advertising is hilarious. Which is great, but it can be dulling, right? And we end up relying upon, each other and the people that we know to give us sage advice, versus trusting the word of, some random person on the internet we've never met. I mean, when you think about it, this is the reason why stars matter. This is the reason why Yelp is a thing. Yelp is word of mouth recommendation. So when I'm going up, I don't know, I don't have a large group of friends who eat Thai food. So I can't go to my network and be like, hey man, where's a great Thai place to go? And people are like, man, Thai's a bunch of crap. I don't eat that stuff. I'm like, cool. Not helpful. So we've developed these crowd style public forums to promote word of mouth. And that's huge. That's hugely beneficial. And when we rate things and we leave reviews, these are all like kind of word of mouth stuff, and then the companies can use them to leverage and to build more advertising, leveraging the power of word of mouth. When we see somebody else saying that this is a great product, when we see there's a reason. God, I was just looking at washers and dryers, for crying out loud, and when I was on Lowe's. I don't want to get into the whole freaking, but you know what? I will really quick. This is we're going to go some personal tangents here. So recently went to go buy a washer and dryer at Lowe's, found the ones that we wanted, bought them, went through this whole shipping ordeal where we're going to bring them out. Okay, we can't bring them out because of weather. We're going to bring them out. Okay, we can't bring them out because of weather. Okay, we're finally going to bring them out. And they show up and they get there and they're too big by 1/4 of an inch. They're too deep by 1/4 of an inch. I didn't think so. The guys were like, nope, it's too big. We're not even going to bring them up. We're going to bring them back to Lowe's. Cool. Got it. So I needed to go back and find. I went on to their website. I'm scrolling through the app to try to find washers and dryers that would fit. Maybe could have measured a little bit better the first time. Admittedly, my bad. But I'm going back to look at washers and dryers on their website, scrolling through my phone, and what they show me when I finally get to the part of the site where it's like, oh yeah, washers and dryers. What it says is, what was it? It was most popular washers and dryers. It wasn't best performing. It wasn't top of the line. It wasn't the latest technology, most efficient, whatever. It wasn't any of those things. It was most popular washers and dryers. That was the top 2 rows of washers and dryers were just the list of the most popular. And it's because we feel more confident in buying things when we know other people are buying them too. Like, well, if the 4,000 people that went on here and left a star-rated review for this washer and dryer are suckers, I'm okay with being a sucker too. Because then I'm in a group of large suckerhood that we can all suck together. And that's the power of word of mouth, is that we're basing our realities on the experience of others. And so all of that said is to say that Robert's bringing in of the prioritization of his love language in his business to understand that you have a relationship with your business too, not just with the people, but with the actual business itself, and understand that is consisting of relationships with your consumers, with the customers, with the clients, and wanting to ensure that your love language is being spoken and communicated with. He's able to put the focus on the things that are going to create that. I'm going to create really good products so that people are going to get it and like it and want to respond. I'm going to ask them for their feedback. And so that way they get it and they give reviews and like, oh, wow, this is really great material. And then even the thing is, what he can do if he created something that wasn't very good, like he's got a great set of pants, but the shirts are like, people are able to give him feedback and say, hey man, like shirts kind of suck. And he's like, oh, man, that like drained the love tank. If you've read the book, you have a love tank that gets filled up. And so every time that the love language is spoken. And so if his love language is getting filled by, these amazing pants, but then he's getting some feedback on the other side that's taken down a notch, he's able to look at that, but you know what? We got to fix this. My love tank's going low. I'm feeling it. My energy's dropping. Like I need to ramp this up. We need to make some changes in order to make sure that this is going up. And when you do this correctly, everybody wins. You're creating a situation where your love tank is filled. You're feeling great. You're on cloud 9. Your customers are like, wow, he's interactive and he like listens to us and he actually changed his product based on what he said, based on what we said to him and the feedback we were providing him. It's a win-win-win, all the way around. And it's a gorgeous thing. I wanted to spend a little bit of time and just dive into that. And so I wanted you guys to think, what are your primary love languages? If you haven't read the book, check it out, man. It is amazing. I don't even have an affiliate link. Like, that's not a thing. Just go read the book because it'll change your life. It'll change the way, it'll deepen your relationship with yourself because you'll understand yourself better. And then if you have a partner, if you have a spouse and they read it too, you guys can really connect. And when you know that, like my love language might be different than my spouse's, and knowing that, like, maybe when I'm trying to love her in a particular way, or you're trying to love him in a particular way, you're doing it in your love language when really you need to be communicating to them in theirs. But when they know that what yours is, they can communicate that to you in that way. Not knowing that, and just going off the baseline that we typically express outward love in the way that we want to be loved, right? And so knowing the difference, understanding the difference, and then taking actions to actually accomplish that is game changing. It can revolutionize your relationship and really reignite some some flames there, you know, and it's something that I highly recommend. You know, it's definitely not going to hurt you to understand yourself and your partner a little bit better. So give it a shot. And second step is think about how you incorporate that in with your professional life. You know, like how can you leverage that knowledge in the world? So this conversation and the post little analysis that I did are all kind of examples of ways that you can really take one of these and make it work for you and for the business. Thank you guys so much for another great week here on the Matt LaStalia Show. I appreciate it so much. If you enjoy what's going on here and you really like it, please do like the video and subscribe. You know, if you want to help spread the message, if you want to help change people's lives, you know, then take the link here and just share it individually with some people. You know, share it with a couple people that you think like, man, this is right up their alley, and I think that they'll really click with this. You know, and send it to one person you're like, man, I don't know if they're really gonna dig it, but I think that they might. If they give it a try, they will definitely benefit from it. I know that they need it, but I don't know that they know they need it. You know, give that a shot too. Give it to those 3 people. And that's it. You know, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you guys here again next week for another episode on the Matt LaStalia Show. Thank you all so much.